Welcome to Hartley Hawks Game Day. It's being brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics. I'm Bob McElligott. Well, the Hartley Hawks were able to advance to the region semifinal game this week. Last week, they took care of Tri-Valley, beating them by the final score of 34-14. And this week, they'll take on Thornville Sheridan. It'll be a matchup of the number 2 seed in Bishop Hartley and the number 3 seed in Sheridan. And this will be a tough game. Before I talk more about that, let me talk about Doctors Hutta and Price and the great service that they provide. And the reason they provide great service to you is because they care about each and every one of their patients. You'll find that out the minute you walk through the door. They build a relationship with you. It's not just about getting you in, getting you taken care of, and getting you on your way. It's about learning who you are, helping you, and maintaining that relationship. Hutta and Price Orthodontics, you can find out all the services they provide, and you can set up a consultation just by going to their website at lovethatsmile.net. Hutta and Price Orthodontics, lovethatsmile.net. Well, for the Hawks, it was nothing but smiling last week after that 34-14 victory. It was the second week in a row that Bishop Hartley was able to do pretty much what they wanted to do offensively. The running backs, they had big nights all across the board. You had Niall Johnson. He had 92 yards on the ground. Marcellus Parker had 91 yards on the ground. Trey Saunders was great. He caught a touchdown pass from Peyton Underwood for 40 yards early that really kind of got things going. Later, he ran for a touchdown. He was great defensively as well. I'll talk more about him in just a few minutes with head coach Brad Burchfield. But again, the Hawks were able to dictate the pace of the game. They were able to dictate the way the game was played, all of that. The only thing that interrupted the entire plan was a weather delay of about 2.5+ hours. And that was frustrating, but they waded through it. They got to finish the game. They got the win, and they move on this week to take on Sheridan. So these two playoff games that have been primers for this one have both gone very well for the Hawks. But this week, well, it goes up a notch. It's going to go up a notch each and every week, and they're going to be taking on a very good Sheridan team this week. To talk more about that, let me bring in the head coach of the Hartley Hawks, Brad Burchfield. Well, Brad, when you look at your game last week against Tri-Valley, really it kind of breaks down to your team made 2 mistakes where you weren't able to tackle a running back. One was an 80-yard touchdown run. The other was a 54-yard touchdown run. And after that, even with a lengthy weather delay, it seemed like you were pretty much able to do what you wanted to do. How pleased were you with the victory?
You know, you don't want to give up the big plays, but we're playing all-man coverage. We play so there's nobody in the middle of the field, and we think we can win the game that way. But we also know that, you know, if you break through the second line, it's going to be hard to get them down a little bit. And you only give up 200 yards of offense, and what you said, 130 was on 2 plays. So you want to clean that up. You want to be better, you know. But part of it was we made some coaching errors and, you know, assignment errors. So that always bothered you when you broke them, when they broke away like that. But obviously we dominated the game. I don't think the game was ever in doubt on who was going to win. We were a little bit probably you know, once we came out of the rain delay, we were probably looking at that clock, getting ready to move on to the next game. And so I don't know, we were quite as aggressive as we normally would be, but I think that was probably the smart move.
I want to ask you about Trey Saunders and just how important he has become to your team overall, whether it's offensively where he's great. He had a couple of touchdowns on Friday. He turns a pass that would have been, you know, a short to a mid-level pass into a long touchdown. He runs for another touchdown. Defensively, he's out there doing a great job in coverage. When you look at your team, is he the key to it right now?
He's a key. There's no question. I mean, I don't know that he's any more of a key than Marcellus or Sumo or Peyton or, you know, I'm sure I'm missing Niall. I mean, the myriad, Daniel Tucson. I mean, the myriad of guys. But he's a big key. And it's interesting you talk about the long runs on defense. If he was playing middle of the field, you know, he gets them down. He almost got him, chased the guy down from behind from a terrible angle earlier in the game with great effort. But playing him in the middle of the field, he gets those guys down. But putting him on somebody takes them away from coverage. So he's a big he's a big decision for us defensively on what we do with him, because we know whatever we do with him, he's going to do and take care of his job, and it's going to be, you're not even going to worry about it. But it certainly makes us weaker in other areas when we do that. Offensively, he's a great weapon, and Coach Sawyer uses him so well, uses him in the run game and in the pass game, and keeping him active. And he's just an unbelievable kid. Great young man to coach. You know, we're happy we have him for a long time after this too.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm sure there's a lot of teams in the CCL that are not happy when they look at your
Yeah.
roster and see some guys they're going to have to face the next year or two. And let's stay on the defense for a minute here because I always talk to you about the guys that stand out. You know, Marcellus Parker, besides a running back, he plays such a good job at linebacker there. And of course, you got Daniel Tucson on the line. But what about a guy like Deontay Hubbard, who it seems like, he comes up with a couple of key plays every single game. And maybe at that point, well, they kind of stand out at that point, and then they get forgotten about throughout the rest of the game. With a player like that, how much do you look at the film and, point out those little plays to your players?
He's gotten so much better as the years gone on, and he's such a good football player. I mean, he's going to be a big time football player. Another one of those guys. It's interesting, Daniel Tucson's dad, Kevin Tucson, who's a great high school football coach, is now a principal, and he's able to come on staff with us. Obviously, losing Coach Wooten, we are blessed that he's able to do that. And he's a great football coach. And he was talking about Deontay and kind of getting in the swing of things. He said, "Man, we're going to miss Deontay." And I said, "We ain't gonna miss him. He's only a 10th grader." And he said, "Wow, are you kidding me?" So this was a couple weeks ago, and I thought that was pretty profound from him. Another one who's in the exact same, almost a carbon copy as Anthony Murphy. I mean, the things that he's able to do for us on defense and on offense. He can catch the ball. He blocks really well. He's very athletic. He's physical and become very confident. Those two guys have become we knew it was a matter of when, not if, and we're thankful that it's happening now.
How about another guy, again, a little bit under the radar? I'm sure he's going to have a bigger role in the future. Sherrod Bowens, and the way you use him as a blocking back offensively. You go back 2 weeks when you had such a blowout. You had other players in the game. He got to touch the ball a lot. He was scoring. He was making big plays on defense. Again, is he another one of those players that provides some subtle plays throughout the game?
Yeah, a physical monster. I mean, they call him 3C Body Shop because he's always crashing and so physical. I mean, he's such a physical player, and we've worked hard to get him to integrate him into the offense and the defense. I mean, he's played outside linebacker, inside linebacker. He can carry the ball. He can block. He's such a physical kid and a really smart kid too. I mean, incredibly smart and genuine. I mean, he's a future senator or even above that down the road. I mean, he's a magnificent kid, and we are blessed to have him.
Marcellus Parker, I mentioned a moment ago, he did get he got his ankle rolled up or something on the other day. He was limping off the field. I know he still went out there and played after that, but you weren't using him very much in the backfield to run the football. Was that just precautionary?
Yeah, we didn't feel like we wanted to take any chances of having him cut or get rolled on. We just played him on defense the whole rest of the game. He's fine. He's had a great week of practice, and he's ready to go. And but yeah, we just felt like in that point, I mean, we were going to win the game, and there was no need to have him back there. And when you put again, him and Sumo are kind of two of the same, just physical, tough runners, hard to tackle, and wears down a defense. But yeah, that was kind of the thought process going into it.
All right, let's talk about this week's game against Sheridan. They're coming off a 28-20 win over Bishop Watterson. When you look at what they did in that game, especially on the ground, Jason Munyon touches the ball 33 times. He runs for 143 yards. See, now that sounds like something that your team does, the way that you like to play. And I know they also throw the ball a little bit too, but what's going to be your biggest challenge against this team this week?
Well, defensively, of all the games we've seen on them, we've only seen one touchdown scored on their first team. So you want to talk about a wow factor. They're strong, they're physical. You would expect just a street fight game. I mean, we've kind of told the kids all week, this is not for the faint of heart, and this is going to be a physical battle, and it's haymakers throwing back and forth. And we've got to exceed their physicality because they're really physical. I mean, they're tough, physical. Great football team. They look like the type of teams that play deep into what usually is November, but now is October. During this era, they're all seniors. I mean, all these kids have played a lot of football, so they're incredibly confident. They expect to win. Really good football team. I mean, a magnificent football team.
And when you play against a bunch of seniors like that, not only do you expect a win factor, but every game could be their last game, right? So that gives them another level to push it to in a playoff game.
Yeah, I'd like to think that that's been with every team in Ohio since week one. You know, everybody has been on edge, and we've talked about it, I know, every week. This could always be our last game. We got to give it everything we got. We got to play as hard as we can. We got to, not take it for granted, enjoy all the moments. So that would be the one thing, that aspect that I think might be equal to everybody, because no one knows what tomorrow holds for any of us.
Well, this is one of those games where it really benefits to be the number 2 seed because you get the home field. And again, we talked about this last week. Normally you get one playoff game and then you have to go neutral site all the way. This will be your third playoff game in a row. What's the advantage to being able to play this team at home this week?
You saw the advantage last week, right? I mean, Tri-Valley had to go sit on the bus for 2.5 hours, where we've still not been in our locker room. Our team has only entered the building twice. It was during the 2 rain delays against Moeller week 1 and last week against Tri-Valley. And it's terrible accommodations. I mean, I felt terrible, honestly felt terrible for Tri-Valley sitting on the bus for 2.5 hours, but that's not our call at all. To be the home team, the conveniences are there. There's no question. We don't use locker rooms, but our kids are familiar. They get dropped off. They can leave right from the game. They know where they're putting their stuff. They can, a child might forget something at some point. That's happened before, and they can run home and get it or get back. Like, there's so many conveniences to being the home team. During this era, it would have been, I would have not liked to be the away team. I would have not liked to have that. It's been a really good thing to be home.
Well, and the irony of all that is you're just begging to be an away team next week because this is the end of the home field advantage, right?
Well, we'd like to be the home team. If Jonathan Alder were to win and we were to win, we'd be the home team. So
I thought it went neutral site next week regardless. No,
it goes.
Oh, that's even better.
Up through the regional finals, and then from there. And if we're able to win, and DeSales could win, obviously it's a familiar place where, again, if Johnny forgot his cleats, he could still go back and get them there too. So, again, it's not a huge advantage from the fan standpoint because there's just not many people there, but just the conveniences as a coach. I'm sure the kids, listen, the Generals and the Hawks don't care where they play. They're going to try to block and tackle and be the best they can be. But as a coach, you like those home games.
All right, Brad. Thank you very much. Best of luck this week.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
Well, I mentioned Jason Munyon, the running back for Sheridan. Also, their quarterback is a guy that can run and he can throw the ball, and that is Josh O'Ryan. He did both of those things last week. Also, the Generals had a couple of interceptions in that game to help them to their victory over Bishop Watterson. Not that the Hartley Hawks throw the ball very much, but you heard Coach Burchfield talking about the tough defense they're going to be facing. If they have difficulty in running the ball, they're going to have to throw the ball, and Peyton Underwood is going to have to be spot on and hit his targets. It's as simple as that. That's pretty much every game, but in this game, when you're taking on a good defense and guys that are just sitting back there waiting for you to make a mistake, you've got to be perfect with pinpoint accuracy. So it'll be very interesting to see how this one plays out. Of course, as you heard Coach Burchfield just say, the winner of this game is going to get either DeSales or Jonathan Alder. Those two will be playing each other to figure out who is going to the regional championship game next week. All right, this game gets underway at 7 o'clock at Jack Ryan Field, and you have to listen to the broadcast situation this week because this is a playoff game. It is being covered by the OHSAA. We will not have our regular YouTube broadcast for you until the game is over. It will be on a tape delay basis, as we say in the business, and that's simply because there's a pay-per-view option through the OHSAA. There will be a live radio broadcast. You'll be able to get that online at GameDayBroadcasting.com. So Matt Barnes and I will bring you that broadcast. Again, that'll be live. The audio will be live. And then when the game is over, we will put up the video. And as the plans go, you'll want to go back and rewatch a Hartley victory as they get set to move to the regional championship game. Once again, 7 o'clock, Friday night, Jack Ryan Field. It's going to be the Hartley Hawks taking on Thornville Sheridan. That has been this week's Hartley Football Game Day. It's been brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics, and I'm Bob McElligott.